The views expressed in this program do not necessarily reflect those of this station.
Welcome to Insights into Northeast Michigan, a WBKB News public affairs program. Insights deals with the issues affecting those in the community, as well as Northeast Michigan and the state. And now, Insights into Northeast Michigan.
Welcome back to another edition of Insights. I'm your host, Teresa Lepowski, and last weekend I had the opportunity to go to a listening tour by one of our Democratic candidates for Michigan governor. Dr. Abdul El-Sayed started the listening tour by opening the floor to the questions, comments, and concerns of Michiganders.
Good evening.
Hi. Good evening.
So I want to just set the stage. This is part of a multi-city listening tour for us. And what we're doing is we're traveling across our great state to understand both what folks are thinking about and talking about, and the language that they're using to talk about it. Because I know that there are a number of challenges that we face across the city that manifest themselves in some different ways depending upon where you go. So I just want to, before I get started, and tell you a little bit about myself and about why I'm running for governor, I really want to learn a little bit more about you. So if you could just share with me, and we'll just spitball this, what are the biggest issues facing you in this beautiful part of Michigan? Yes, sir.
I, for one, am terribly concerned about the overturn of the Affordable Care Act. And we need to figure out what we're going to do if these people manage to do it. Half our kids in this country are on Medicaid, as you well know, and half the births in this country are Medicaid births. And so attacking that program is not going to go anywhere good. And here in Northern Michigan, we have more than our fair share of poverty. Yeah, and furthermore, if they do reverse it, then the small hospitals who run on a very small margin are going to go bankrupt, and then the access is going to get even worse.
Yeah, so in a rural region, how do you maintain access to care in a moment where the Medicaid itself may be stripped back, and that is a disproportionate amount of the payments into small hospitals, particularly rural contexts? That's a great question. I saw the young lady in the back.
I just am really concerned about all women's issues, and most particularly the attack on women's reproductive rights and Planned Parenthood. That's a real concern.
How do we maintain the sovereignty that women ought to have over their own bodies? And how do we protect against the onslaughts? Thank you.
After listening to the concerns of Michiganders, Dr. El-Sayed took a little bit of time to talk about himself. He talked about his role in a multicultural, multi-religious family, and he also talked about his time and his experience as the Public Health Commissioner in Detroit.
So I want to take a step back and just introduce myself to you, formally talk to you a little bit about why I hope to be in service to you as governor of this state. I'm the product of a deeply uncommon, if wholly American family. My father, he immigrated from Egypt back in 1978. 4 years later, he got married to my mother, Fatin, and she moved over to the United States. I was a bit of a one-hit wonder. They had me and got divorced. And then both remarried. And my father, he remarried a woman from Gratiot County, Michigan. And her family's been in the United States since before the Revolutionary War. And so we come from this diverse family, and I got to meet so many different kinds of people growing up. And what I came to realize is that there is nothing more beautiful than humanity, nothing worth working for as much as humanity. I realized I really love people. And I also realized I really love science. Both my parents were engineers, and so science for us was just the language we spoke in the house. And so I grew up wanting to be a doctor because I thought I could use science to help people. So I went on to the University of Michigan, and I studied biology and political science. Right? The parallelism is pretty clear. Because if biology is the system by which cells make decisions about scarce resources, then politics is the system by which society makes decisions about scarce resources. So I moved my career in the direction of public health. At 30 years old, I was appointed health commissioner in the city of Detroit. When I walked into the department, my job was to rebuild that department, to give Detroit a health department again. And when we heard about the Flint water crisis, I had just recently been touring the schools, inspecting them, seeing things like kids who are wearing their coats until 11 a.m. because the boiler doesn't work, or literally seeing mice in some state of decay in the corner because nobody had the wherewithal to clean them up. That for me was a wake-up call. Remember, my goal was to use science to protect people. And it made me ask about what my responsibility was in a moment like this. Whether or not it was enough to be answering one agenda item or rebuilding the agenda around the issues that people face day to day.
I had an opportunity after the listening tour to have a brief interview with Dr. Al-Sayed so we could discuss some local concerns to Alpena. Let's take a look. One of the biggest concerns facing Alpena and the citizens in Alpena is just the Great Lakes, and the concerns that we have are the purity of those Great Lakes and how that's going to be affected.
Yeah, so we sit on 21% of the world's fresh water, and we owe it to our region and our country and the world to be able to protect that. And you see things like Line 5, which is both putting the Great Lakes at risk and committing ourselves via infrastructure to a system of fuel that burns fossil fuels into our air, which increases climate change and in the long term puts things into the air that we don't want to be breathing in the first place. So we have a responsibility to those Great Lakes. Under my leadership, I do hope that we're able to make the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality a regulator that matters again, that we're able to enforce to protect our Great Lakes, and that we're able to invest as a state in protecting this resource that we all share.
You have a great experience in public health, and especially in the Detroit or Michigan region. How do you think that will impact your campaign and your role if you're elected governor?
Look, one of the worst things that happened in our state in the recent couple of years is the Flint water crisis. I was brought in twice by the state to be able to address some of the challenges there and propose solutions. And I'd like to be able to enforce those solutions. And I uniquely understand, as a former health commissioner, how to fix problems like Flint. If the ACA is repealed, Obamacare is repealed, nearly 2 million Michiganders could lose their health care. We have to be able to protect them. And as a doctor, I know firsthand the experiences that people face when they're potentially going to lose their health care and how afraid that makes them. So we have to operate to be able to protect that, and I'd want to do that at a state level to make sure that everybody in our state has access to equitable, affordable health care that they can get from anywhere.
I'm glad that you brought up healthcare. That's a big issue in Alpena, especially as we're seeing our population there increase in age. Going over to the other side, the younger population, people my age, leaving Michigan because there's no jobs here that allow us the opportunity to rise in the ranks or do better for ourselves. We still see so many people under that poverty line. Yeah. So what would you do to reverse that?
Yeah. I know uniquely how that feels. I think you and I are probably near the same age, and there's a lot our governor wants to point to right now to say that it's all good, but Michiganders know that that's not the case. As I call and talk to classmates of mine from college, they're not here in Michigan, they're elsewhere. They've left to build the economy of the future there. So whatever the unemployment rate, we know that there's a thick layer of people who feel fundamentally locked out of the economic system. There aren't jobs for them, and many of those people are young people. We have to be able to build a 21st century economy. We have to be able to reinvest in education so our kids come out ready to take the jobs that are available. We got to focus on jobs that are not going to be offshored, sent over to China or somewhere else, and are not going to be automated out, are not done better by a robot. We got to focus on local, small business types of opportunities that give folks access to well-paying jobs, that put food on their table, a roof over their heads, and allow them to dream about the lives that their kids can have. And we can have that here in Michigan if we're willing to focus on the 21st century rather than try and play defense on the 20th.
Wonderful. One last question. How does education factor into keeping kids in Michigan? We have a lot of I don't know if you want to say blue-collar workers, jobs in the Alpena area. So how do you make sure that kids are getting the education they need instead of just saying, well, you're going to college or, like you said, college or bust?
Yeah, for far too long, I think young people have been dealt a bum deal. For 35%, they get access to a four-year college or university, and then for everyone else, there's really not training programs there. We have 27 community colleges, 15 public colleges, universities. I think there's an opportunity for us to think, what's the best combination of a classroom and an apprenticeship that gives people certifiable skills on the way out, that gives them access to real jobs coming out of those educational training programs. We have to be thinking about what sits in the middle between college and nothing at all, or a high school education. So we have to build that, and I think we can.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We have to go to a quick break right now, but when we return, I'll be back with Congressman Jack Bergman on some of those same issues.